So after creating the HTML page, the next step is we need to add some interactivity to the app. So the interactivity will be managed by Azure Functions app. That is the app that we'll be using to call the CDS API and retrieve some data. So in order to do that, I need to go into the click on this Azure icon here, and then you'd need to go to the static web apps area, and then there is this icon here that says create HTTP function. I'm gonna create that. I'm gonna call this hello world function app, and then like I said, you have only two options. You can either use TypeScript or JavaScript. I'm gonna choose TypeScript. It's gonna start creating the app. It's created the app now. So next step, I need to do an npm install, because this relies on some npm packages. So if you go in here on the, so now we have a new area, now new folder called API. Under the API you have the hello world function app, and then there is a package.json, and these are all the packages that are on this function app. So we need to do an npm install first. The packages has finished installing. Let me just try to update the Azure Functions package now, because it says it's a beta 2, so I'm going to try to upgrade that package. So npm install Azure Functions. So now it has upgraded the package to 1.2.2. So let me go into the local settings.json. Sorry, not local settings.json. There is a configuration for URL parameters. So I need to go and edit. So that is actually on the hello world function app. On the function.json, so this one is accepting both get and post. I'm just going to make this get only. So I'll just save this, and I'm going to rebuild the container again. So the container has been rebuilt, so I can just, so there are no IntelliSense errors or there are no squiggly lines. I can press F12 and it just goes to the node package. So the container has been rebuilt, and now I can, if I want to, I can just confirm that by running the function. So if I just go into cd API, I'm just going to say npm start. If I go into my package.json for the function app, you can see the start runs this command func start. So I can either say function func start, or I can just say npm start. So it's gonna start the, since it's a TypeScript, it needs to first build it into JavaScript, and then it needs to start the functions host, and then once it's finished it, you now get this URL. So I can click this. So it's saying, because the function app itself has it's just a default vanilla, like a templated one, so it requires a parameter called name. So if I just say name equal to Raj, says hello Raj, so the function app is working. So the next step is modify this default function app and make it return a JSON. So I'm just gonna replace this whole thing. I don't need any of this. I'm gonna paste some snippet that I copied across. So this particular one, what it does is, I'm just creating just a simple JSON, and I'm just returning the JSON on the function app. So let me just run this function app. npm start. So it has given me a function app URL now. I'm gonna control click that, and if I can see, all it is just returning is a JSON, because it's Firefox, it's just formatting the JSON very nicely. So the function app is ready to be consumed by the HTML page. So I can go into my HTML page, and then I can just run a script block here that just calls this API. So the API here is I can just process. I know the result is a JSON. I can put that on the console. So I'm going to paste this small script here. All it is doing is it's going to call this hello world. So we have our function app is called hello world function app. I'm going to paste that hello world function app. I'm just using the plain fetch, returning just standard. This is just standard JavaScript fetch. I'm just printing the response to the console. So this page, I'm going to load this using the LiveServer, like we saw in part 1. I clicked on the bottom right, now it's running on port 5500. What I'm going to do next is I'm just going to open this localhost 5500, and then if I go into the app and I just check the console, I'm just gonna refresh it again. It says there is a JSON error, and if you go into the network, it actually what it does is, because LiveServer is serving all the URLs, when it gets a URL that says API hello world function app, what it is doing is it is actually serving the folder. So this is the folder structure of the hello world function app, but this is not what we want. We want the response that we saw on this page, it is returning a clean JSON, and we want the live server extension to not just serve the folder contents, but rather call this particular function app that is on 7071 and return the response to us. So in order to do that, we need to make some changes to the configuration. So now let's add the proxy URI for proxy setting for LiveServer. So I need to expand the VS Code node, and then on the settings.json, on this settings.json, I'm going to paste something. So I'm going to paste this config, that is for LiveServers. For LiveServer extension, there is a proxy property. I'm going to just say, if you get any call for API, redirect that to localhost 7071 API, because I have the function app running on the localhost 7071. So after I do that, I need to restart the LiveServer extension. So bottom right again, I'm going to stop it, and then I'm going to start it again. So once I do that, let me just try reloading this page now and see what happens. It is still returning me the page structure, not the function API. So let me try to rebuild the container now. So I'm gonna just rebuild the container. So the container is rebuilt. Let me just try to run my function app again. I'm just gonna say func start, and I am going to run my index.html using LiveServer. So I pressed go live, and let me see whether this works. So now if I go into hello world function app, it returns me this text hello world. So this part is working now, because it is giving me the response back as JSON. So how do I now debug my function app? It is just like any standard Azure function. I can put a breakpoint here. I'm just going to put a breakpoint on this line 5. I press F5, and then it starts the function source and attaches the debugger. So now the function app is running, the debugger is attached. Now if I go into my HTML page, which has a JavaScript calling the API, I press reload, come back into my function app, I can see the breakpoint. It's the hit the breakpoint, and I can see the variables here. So it's, I can just like F5 again. So the debugger is attached, so you can basically, if there you have any issues in the function app, you can debug it. Just a standard, this is the standard function app way. So now we have a working static web app, but that static web app is available to anyone without any sort of authentication. In order for us to proceed to the next stage, because we are going to connect to CDS API, we need to have some sort of authentication here in place, so that it is not available to everyone without a login. So we need to add some login configuration to this site. In order to do that, I need to add a new file called routes.json. I'm adding the routes.json on the app folder, and I'm going to paste this in. So what this says is the slash, that is the route, the home page, the default route. Usually when you don't specify any specific page, the slash will redirect to index.html, which we have index.html. It is available only to authenticated people. Anonymous users cannot access that. And the route login will redirect to Azure AD login page. In static web app, we have a common route called .auth/login, and depending on the provider, the part, the last part will change. In this case, because it's Azure AD, the last part is AAD. For Twitter and GitHub and other authentication providers, it will be different. So now I'm just saying that I want to secure this using Azure AD. I have my changes on, I'm currently on master branch. If I push these changes now, the live site will be updated, and I don't want that to happen, because I want to test out these changes on a staging site. That means I need to create a new branch and then submit a PR. Once I submit a PR, there will be a staging site created automatically based on the GitHub actions, and I can test my changes in the staging site. So let me now proceed to commit these changes into a branch and submit a PR. So I'm going to say git checkout -b, and then I'm just going to say add routes. So that is my branch name, add routes. So currently I'm in the add routes branch. I need to just go in here. I'm just going to refresh this. It's saying that I'm on the master. Okay, now it's saying I'm on the add routes branch. I'm going to say the check-in messages added routes config. Now I am committing my changes. I'm going to push this to I'm going to push this branch. So it's committed the change. So now I am on my repo, and this route was pushed 1 minute ago. So I'm going to compare and create a pull request. So I'm going to merge the changes from add routes into master, and I am going to create a pull request. Once I create a pull request, the GitHub actions will run, and then it will automatically start provisioning the staging site. Like you can see, it's already started running, and now it's going to provision a staging site for us. So it's running the GitHub actions now, and then it's going to start creating the staging site, and then it will also comment on our PR with the URL of the staging site. So the GitHub workflow action ran, and it has failed. What it is saying is it has got the maximum number of environments, just one. So this is because that I already had a branch that I submitted a PR for that created a staging site, and the limit is currently only 1. So I am going to delete I'm going to jump into my Azure portal, and I'm going to delete this staging site. So let me just delete the staging site, and then I'm going to kick off this GitHub actions again. So I have deleted my so now I have deleted my staging environment. There is no staging environment, and I'm going to rerun my failed action. So I'm going to kick it off again, and I'm going to wait for this to finish. There is a message on the pull request from actions that the staging site is ready. So let me just go and visit this site. So it straight away says that I can't log in because we said that this site is accessible only to authenticated users. So let me just go into this route called login, because we said that login is going to redirect to AID login. Once I set that to login, it's trying to sign me in, and now I have a consent page and I grant consent. So now I can access the site. If I try to access any other route, if I just say about, it's just a generic 404 page because we didn't define a custom 404 page. So that's the reason it's giving this default page. But like we said, this page now is accessible only to authenticated users. So far we were able to configure the app to force people to log in into the site. But what if I don't want any AD user to just log in and access the entire site? I just want to have some roles apart from just checking whether they are authenticating using Azure AD. So if I want to do that, I can just set up custom roles for that. So in order to set a custom role, I can add another route. So I have a standard route that is slash. That one is available for everyone because that might be index.html. That is probably the login page. So I will just have my login from here. So I don't want that page to be behind authentication. I just want that page to be accessible by anybody. So this is the route I have. Initially, we wanted anyone who is accessing the home page, that's index.html, to be authenticated. But we want that page to serve as a login page, and we want to protect a new page behind authentication. Like, I can create a new page called about, and I want people to with a specific role to access the about page. So in order to do that, I first need to change this to protect the route called about. When the route is about, I am going to serve about.html. And I want that about.html to be accessed only by people in CDS user role. So this is a custom role that I am going to create, and the home page index.html will be accessible by everybody, but this about.page will be accessible only by users who have this CDS user role. So I'm going to do the same. So I'm going to press exclamation and I just say about. So I have this about page. Now we need to come into Azure portal, and in the role management area, you can invite users into a certain role, or you can create invitation. So I am going to enter my email address. And I am going to give it access to only the static web app that I just created. And then I'm going to say the role is CDS user. And the invitation will expire in 1 hour. When I click generate, it is creating a invitation link, and I am going to copy that invitation link. So now I have an invitation link, and I am going to go into a private mode and then try to log in. So now it's asking me to sign into an account. I am now signing in. It's asking me to grant consent. I'm just granting consent. Now I am on the index.html page. So now if I come back into Azure portal and I just refresh this, I should see the invitation. So I can see that I have the role CDS user. I'm anonymous and authenticated. I have all the three roles. So this means only I will be able to access the route about. So now let me try to access the about page. If I type about page, I'm able to access that. So I am now in the incognito window, a new session, and I'm going to try to access the about page. It's saying that I am unauthorized. So let me try to use a different account and log in and see what happens. And because that new user will not have the CDS user account at all. So let's see what happens when I try to use a different account, not the one that I have configured on Azure portal. So now I have signed in with a different AD account, and now if I try to go into the about page, it should not allow me to sign in. I don't have the role that is configured on the role management. This new account that I used does not have this CDS user role. So that's why when I tried to log in using this particular account, I was not able to access this particular route. So one of the common things we also want to do is, after the user has logged in, we want to redirect to a specific page on the site. So in order to do that, there is a parameter called post login redirect URI, and then you can set that post login redirect URI to a route that you want. So in this case, I am saying that after login, once I say login page, after login, just redirect them to the about route. So let me just try to log in now. So I am logged in now. I'm just going to press yes, and it is now redirecting me to the about page. So that is one thing that I want to also cover. So after we have confirmed our staging site is working properly, we can now merge the pull request and then push this into main branch. So now it should start the merging into the main branch. After I have completed the merge, I can delete this branch as well. So after we merge the pull request, the actions ran, and then it also deleted the staging environment. So we had two environments when we had a pull request open. We had one main static web app, and then we had a staging one, and the staging one is gone because we have merged the PR. So this is really useful when you want to test the site, but you don't want to really merge the changes into the main branch. So this is a really nifty feature. So now you know how to set up a route, how to put up authentication to Azure AD, and then how to configure redirect, and then how to use custom roles. So in the next video, I will show how to use all of the concept in this video and the previous video to build an app without using any sort of framework like Gatsby or React or anything like that, just like vanilla HTML. Because Gatsby and React, it's a whole different story if we just dive into that detail, and that will distract from what distract me from covering what is in the Azure Static Web App. So I will just use vanilla HTML and JavaScript to a certain degree to build a site that can connect to CDS and then retrieve data.